Marc Ryan here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network. Awesome to have you guys with us. Certainly do appreciate you. Well. One of the biggest games of the day was a total flop in terms of intrigue, entertainment, in terms of morale. If you call yourself a Florida Gator, unfortunately, that is me. Outgained 529 to 261. The score was 24-10 at halftime, Miami. 38-10 at the end of the third quarter. Florida quarterbacks who were harassed all game long were 14 of 26, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. But we shouldn't just focus on the good things. Florida is staring right now its 4th consecutive failed coaching hire in the face. And it has me looking up the all-time worst starts for Florida Gator coaches in the history of their tenure. Billy Napier right now, 11-15 in year 3 as Florida Gators head coach. Joining us right now, he's got one of the best Florida Gators sites on the internet. It's in all kinds of weather. You can find the website by the same address at allkindsofweather.com. All Kinds Weather is where you can find him on X or Twitter. Neil Shulman, the owner and founder, joins us right now on the show. So, Neil, very simply put, what the hell happened today?
Florida got embarrassed. You wanted a very simple explanation. Florida just got flat out embarrassed. I will give Miami credit in that they are a better football team than I thought they were. I thought they'd be a decent team. They turned out to be what looked to be a very good, if not great team. But that line of scrimmage showing from Florida after all we heard, an exhaustive offseason of talking about the strength and conditioning program. We upgraded the talent. We got Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, Damian George moving over to his more natural position. We got Joey Slackman from Penn. Cam Jackson's back another year wiser, stronger. And all of that results in that. That's what we get for an entire offseason of thinking that we finally fixed the trenches. I mean, it's one thing to get beat, but to look like that in defeat is honestly something that I don't know that you come back from if you're Napier, barring an absolute miracle.
You know, you have Dan Mullen right now clowning the Florida Gators because Matt Berry on SportsCenter tweeted, the Florida coach that got fired went to 3 consecutive New Year's Six games in his first 3 years and was let go in his 4th season. Dan Mullen has since retweeted that. If you could go back in time, do you hang on to Dan Mullins instead of making this move?
No, because there were problems behind the scenes there. But what I will say is I think that this is reminiscent of FSU in the sense of when they fired Jimbo Fisher, they had to fire him because he had success, but he lost his drive. He lost his energy. The Jimbo Fisher that they had that won them so many games was gone, and you could not retrieve him. It was not ever going to happen again. Their success would not be replicated. But you then compound that by messing up the ensuing hire, who then brings his own additional problems to the fray, tacks them on to the existing mess that the previous coach left, and you have an absolute barn fire.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on in Florida right now. So what's interesting to me right now, I'm checking on social media, Neil. There's a very fatalistic approach, almost as if Billy Napier has already been fired. You're having that tone. Quite a few others are having that tone, almost like it's fait accompli. It's already happened. There's been zero indication that Billy Napier is in any way, shape, or form even in danger this year, regardless of what happens. Do you expect Billy Napier to be fired during the season, after this game? Where is the attitude coming from that it's already a decision that's been made?
Well, I think part of the attitude comes from logic because even, and this is going to be hard to do, I realize, but Gator fans listening out there, just try your hardest. Please try your best to dismiss the emotions and the knee-jerk reaction of getting embarrassed by a rival at home. You said, as you put it, Napier is 11-15 as a head coach. That's probably one of the best synopses you could make of him right now. He's 7-15 against Power 5 opponents. He has barely won a third of the games he has coached against Power 4, Power 5 opponents, he is 1-8 against his rivals. He is 1-3 against his rivals in the Swamp. And, oh, yeah, if all that's not enough, just another tack-on statistic there. He also happens to be a combined 1-4 against Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Kentucky. There is no combination of fact or reason or logic or data that suggests that this is going to continue beyond this season. And after what we saw today, seeing, again, the disparity in the trenches, Miami's a good team, yes. They're a very good football team. They're better than I thought. I will eat that crow, but they're not the best team we're going to see. We're going to see better defensive lines. We're going to see Georgia. We're going to see Texas. I know LSU lost a lot of pieces, but they're also very talented, and they are every single year. This isn't just it was a terrible loss, but things will get better. We'll turn things around. You might lose to Texas A&M in 2 weeks, and if that happens, you could be looking at 2-10. It's not unfathomable after what you just saw happen in the Swamp. So I think the Napier is already fired mindset from so many people comes from the fact that the product was bad in his first 2 years, and now it appears that not only has it not gotten appreciably better, not only has it not gotten incrementally better, it just might be getting worse with his guys that he handpicked, both in the portal and from high school ranks, and an all-new set of defensive position coaches. This is his team as much as it ever will be. So there's just no rational reason to believe that things are going to get better.
So, Neil, I would share this with you. I'm not sure if you know this. I've done a lot of research on this. You almost always find out whether a hire is the right hire in year 3.
In year 3,
I want you this is year 3. So I want you to compare and contrast Mario Cristobal and Billy Napier, both in year 3. Mario Cristobal comes into today 12-13. Billy Napier 11-14. Almost identical. Napier might even be a tad more impressive considering SEC versus the All Cupcakes Conference, the ACC. But boy, did you see a team that looked like year 3, they're ready to click on all cylinders with Mario Cristobal, and a team with Billy Napier that didn't look like they knew what they were doing. Am I out of line for saying, if I was to use a Big Ten comparison, this felt like to me today Ohio State versus Illinois. It felt like Ohio State versus Illinois when what I expected to see was Penn State versus Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, that's not unfair. I would add that Florida, at least on paper, probably has more naturally explosive weapons than you would expect to see in the Big Ten. I mean, again, on paper, you would expect Trey Wilson to be better than what you'd see from those types of schools. You'd expect an Arlis Bortingham to take a jump from year 1 to year 2. I mean, Montrell Johnson's not an explosive back, but as you saw today, he had a big play today. He can do that. It's not like he does. It's not like he just has to do it every time he touches the ball, but he can make a big play happen. He is fast enough. So I would add that caveat to it, but I can't disagree that this was just ugly on so many different fronts. I can't really any comparison you want to throw out there where one team is better than the other. I'm not really in a position to disagree with you.
So what happened today with the offense? I mean, do you hold Graham Mertz in any way accountable, DJ Lagway in any way accountable, or is it simply what an old football wise man once told me, that your importance in the game of football is in direct proportion to the distance you line up from the football? The closer you are, the more important the position. Is this just all having to do with the fact that Florida might have the quarterback and the skill position players, but in the trenches they're just god-awful?
It could be a little bit. We did see something from the offensive line today. There wasn't one nice play, the Long Johnson touchdown. There was a nice seal block by the whole left side of the line. But, I mean, Mertz also made plenty of mistakes. He overthrew Elijah Badger in single coverage on a post route. That's not good. He also missed a wide-open check down in the flat that would have gone, at the very least, for 10 yards and a first down, possibly for another 50, 60, 70-plus yard play. But, I mean, you can't really point the finger of blame away from the trenches too far. This was just absolutely is pathetic. Really, it was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic on both sides of the ball on the lines of scrimmage. So I don't know that you would say anyone else was really perfect or played a great game, but if you're going to be directing anger in some direction, it cannot be far away from the offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case, man. It does seem to be the case. Okay, so you're Billy Napier right now. What do? Can you do anything to right the ship? It just seems like, lack of organization, lack of playing with discipline, lack of player development. I don't know where you turn, but you're tasked with the fact that, I thought before the season, Neil, if they go 6-6, make a bowl game, he saves his job with the most difficult schedule in the history of the sport. Now you're asking yourself, where do the 6 wins come from? Samford, Mississippi State, UCF, Kentucky. You got to find 2 more. I don't know where they are. I think we're looking at the worst season in the modern era. UCF now has KJ Jefferson. What do you do right now if you're Coach Napier?
Well, it's going to sound like a smart alecky answer, but I worry about beating Samford because from what we saw against when the Gators played South Florida 2 years ago, when we saw when Florida played a bad Charlotte team last year, I wouldn't be so certain that that's going to go great either. So you need – and I'm talking about something in terms of maybe a grain of rice to a starving man, but you need something, quite literally anything, to get this thing even headed back toward the track. I mean, the train has come off the tracks right now, and it is barreling full force through the woods. It's going to hit a tree if it didn't already. I mean, you could maybe say if Georgia 60 pieces us, maybe that's it hitting the tree. But you've got to do something to stop it right now, turn it around, carry it back towards the tracks, and get it on there. So just beat Samford before you worry about Texas A&M or Kentucky or Central Florida or Mississippi State, who, by the way, 20 years ago, that was the stadium that eliminated another coaching problem that Florida had. So if you want to talk about games that could possibly be the guillotine drop, that's as logical a pick as any. But if you're Napier, you got to just start winning games anywhere and anyhow you can. And Samford is the easiest one left. So, I mean, frankly, if you don't win this one by 30 or 25 or 27 points, so if you don't win the Samford game convincingly, I don't know that there will be a soul in Gainesville left, including those who employ him, that are going to be left with any belief in him.
His name is Neil Shulman. He owns, runs, and operates one of the best Florida Gators sites anywhere. It's called In All Kinds of Weather. That is a lyric in the school alma mater that everybody sings in between, I think, quarter 3 and quarter 4. All Kinds Weather on Twitter is where you get to him. Neil, thanks for the update from a very depressed swamp this afternoon. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, appreciate you having me. You might even say that we are tropically depressed right now.
There you go. Tropical depression in Gainesville. The main man, Neil Shulman from In All Kinds of Weather, joining us here on the all-new Infinity Sports Network.